All right, welcome to Chapter 8, Section 3, called Volume of Spheres. This is for Math 8. All right, so a couple things that you will see on your screen. The first thing, I don't see it here, but you'll see it on your student screen, is the due date. The second thing is the number of attempts. You always have unlimited, and this is true for homework, tests, or quizzes. You can come and complete these as many times as you would like. Number of questions just tells you how many questions are on this assignment. Grading policy is best score. Whichever attempt is the best one is the one you keep. Partial credit's always enabled, so if you answer one of 2 questions correctly, you get credit for your 1 question, or however many you answered correctly. Down here it says, please remember once you start your homework, you must finish it before you can work on anything else. What that means is once I click the start button, down in the bottom right corner on your student screen, you will see the submit assignment button. You don't see it on my screen, but you will see it on your student screen. This button does 2 major things. So number 1, like that first screen said, is it's not going to let you work on anything if you don't click that button, and that's what finish your assignment means, is click the submit assignment button. If you just close this screen or you close your computer, Alex is going to assume you want to leave this attempt open, and it's going to lock everything else. But remember, you have unlimited attempts. You don't need to leave this attempt open. So when you're ready to leave the screen, no matter what, click that button. Whether you've started anything at all, click that button. As long as you have a green check mark, you've actually filled in the answer and clicked check, it's going to save your place. It's not going to make you repeat that. So that's a very cool feature. So that's the first reason. Don't want to lock all your assignments. Second big reason is that it affects the gradebook when you click that submit assignment button. Until you click that button, your teacher can't see what you've been doing, and it doesn't make any effect on the gradebook. So your account's kind of like frozen in that point. So make sure, very good habit, always, always, always click that button. All right, on the side here, we can see we do have a calculator. That's not always there, but it's there for now. It's just sometimes depending on the topic. We always have explanation, example, and message center. So explanation says you're going to lose your current question attempt because it's going to give you the solution to this question. So it's not going to give you the answer and then let you come type it in. Sorry, that's not how this works. Example will give you an example very similar to what it is we're looking at, and then it will show you exactly how to work this out. So while we're on this screen, we do need to look at this. So it's asking us to the volume of a sphere. That's actually, what this entire section is called. So we need to know the volume formula for a sphere. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down over here so that we have it. So it's 4/3 pi r cubed. This kind of sounds a little bit like volume because volume is pi r squared, or not volume, sorry, area of a circle. But we're not doing a circle. We're literally doing a sphere here. So we have this 3-dimensional object that could be filled with something, like a ball that's filled with air, or a balloon if it was nice and round, something along those lines. So it's a 3-dimensional object that we have here. So this is what we want to do for our volume. And remember, volume is 3-dimensional. So we need kind of, if we think back to like the rectangular prism, which is really easy, length, width, and height, we need those same types of measurements. Well, in this case, we don't really have a length, a width, and a height, but we do have a radius. So in this case, we have radius, length, width, and then if we go up to the top, so this width was kind of go back to the back, and then we can also go height. So length, width, height, that's why we do radius cubed. So it's kind of that same idea. It's just a little different when we're doing that. But we also have to take into account that it's not a box. We don't have all these pieces filled in. There's all this empty space. So we have to take that into account, which is why we use a fraction on part of this. Although with this one, it actually would be going outside of the box. I drew that really bad. The box is more inside of here because it's 4/3. So we're not getting smaller. We're actually getting bigger with that fraction. All right, so I think I've spent enough time in the example. So you can click on that for another example if you'd like. I know we didn't walk through that example, but once you look at that, you can look at another one. You can also message your teacher directly from the screen. Attaches a picture so your teacher knows exactly where to come help you. All right, let's continue working on, told me I can't use that in teacher preview. So let's continue working with this formula over here. So we have the radius r of a sphere is 7.6 millimeters. Calculate the sphere's volume V. Use the value 3.14 for pi and round your answer to the nearest tenth. Do not round any intermediate computations. So it's telling you do need to round your answer, but don't round in between anywhere. Wait till the very, very end to round. All right, so we're going to fill this guy in, and then we're going to use the calculator here. So we have 4/3 times, instead of pi, they're asking us to use 3.14. And then radius, they told us that it had a radius of 7.6. So, and that's cubed. If they told us it was a diameter, we would simply need to divide that by 2, because if we're thinking about a basic circle here, a radius goes from the center to the side. A diameter goes from side to side through the center. So if the radius goes from the center to the side, a diameter is just 2 radii, which is why we would just divide it by 2 to go to either one. Doesn't matter which one you did. So just kind of front loading that just in case yours has a diameter on it, because everybody's is always a little bit different. All right, so we know what we want to do here. So we have 4 divided by 3. This calculator is really cool because we can actually type in a fraction and see it as a fraction. A lot of calculators don't do that. So if you have a calculator, if you're not using the ALEKS one for whatever reason, you may want to wait for the 4/3 until the end, because you can multiply by 4 and divide by 3 if you can't type that fraction in. All right, times 6. And this is, I'm going to click this button because I don't want squared, I want cubed. So I click this little button and it lets me type in the 3 there. So now I'll go ahead and hit equals. So it wants us to round to the nearest 10th. So the 8th is the 10th. I need to make sure before I just delete all of this that the next number is 4 or smaller. So it is a 4. So it's just going to round off, basically round down. And I can just go copy, paste, be a little bit lazy there, copy and paste it right in there. And that's Command-C and Command-V if you've never done that before. Really quick, before I click check, I want to make sure that I was making sense when I said that you could do this at the end. Because depending, if you're not using this calculator for some reason, you're just not using the ALEKS calculator, you're using a smart calculator like on your phone or something, you go 3.14. Don't use the pi button, use 3.14. If you use the pi button, you're going to get a different answer. So this is a rounded number already. So use this 3.14, not the pi button. Times 6 cubed. So I can get this number, and then I can use this fraction, and remember the top is multiplication and the bottom is division. So I can go times 4 divided by 3, and I still end up at that same number I ended up with over here. So it's just another way of getting there. So you can do the fraction at the end. All right, so let's go ahead and check. I'm surprised it didn't give me grief about no comma there. It has given me grief, you know, in the last couple of videos about that. All right. And all of these, we've kind of been ending the same way. I shouldn't have erased, whoops, not 3/4, 4/3 pi r cubed. All right. So all of these have been ending the same way for chapter 8, where we practice really quick some formula for the volume, and then we apply that formula. So just make sure you're paying attention to what it's asking. So a company makes chocolate candies in the shape of solid spheres, so little balls, right? And that's a pretty common one. There's a really popular Christmas one that's like that with like the crisps in it. So each piece of candy has a diameter of 6 centimeters. So if I picture this candy, here it is, whoop, something like this. Here's this little candy, and it has a diameter of 6 centimeters. So diameter goes all the way across through the center. If a box contains 15 pieces of candy, how much chocolate does it contain? So I know there's 15 of them in there, but how much chocolate is actually in there? And this is something, I'm not sure that you would go through and do this necessarily for a diet, but you might want to do this, you know, if you knew how large each sphere was. A lot of the time they give you information for serving size and nutrition and things like that, but you might want to know, you know, how much actual chocolate's in there. So with this one, the only measurement I need is radius. Well, the only measurement they gave me was diameter. Remember, that's 2 radii. So I'm going to divide by 2, and that will tell me the radius is 3 centimeters. So I have 4/3 times 3.14 times 3 cubed. here and go 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 3 cubed equals. So this tells me, and this is volume, I just didn't continue that down. This tells me how much one candy. So one candy is 113 and 4/100ths. What was it? Centimeters? Centimeters cubed. It's one candy. That's not what they asked me to find. Be careful about that. I know this says centimeters cubed, but it didn't ask me to find the volume for one candy. I needed to know the volume for one candy because they want to know how much 15 pieces of candy. How much is that? So I'm going to take this and multiply by 15. And that will tell me how much is in the box total. So I'm going to go times 15. So be careful about this one. Make sure you're paying attention to what it's asking you. And it says do not round, so I want that entire answer in there. And I just copied and pasted it because I was being a little lazy there. Oh, and it didn't give me grief about the comma again. Very nice. All right, so that was section 3. I will see you in section 4.